This is Dr. Francisco Navarro of Ateneo TCM. It is July 8th, 2021, and I am recording this lecture for TCM 20.1, a special new part of the Ateneo TCM curriculum for the pandemic times, for being in quarantine. TCM 20.1 focuses on patterns of disharmony of all the Tangfu systems. This this lecture is for the first module. Module 1 will be on the general patterns of disharmony. Module 1, the general patterns, this will just be an overview. It will be a bit of review of TCM10, the basic foundational concepts of TCM10. What is normal functioning, and what are the imbalances and disharmonies we've encountered there, and then moving forward from that. Okay? But as the first module, we are only talking in very broad terms. As with many of my lectures these days, before you proceed, we have some homework, some review, some notes that you must have to prepare for the rest of this lecture. Okay. We know from TCM10 that disharmonies can be Qi in excess, Qi deficient, or something's wrong with the workings of the Qi and we might go into heat, a hot condition, or a cold condition. And this brings us the diagnostic system, that is the 4 patterns of diagnosis. So the assignment, the homework before you continue with the rest of this lecture is use the 4 patterns, the 4 quadrants that we have, and plot all of these there. So of course there's the basic disharmonies. Where does Qi deficiency go? Where does Qi stagnation go? What about Xue deficiency? I'm sure fire blazing has been mentioned. Which one is that? Which of the 4 quadrants does it fall under? Include external conditions, exterior conditions such as heat invasion, cold invasions. What happens when heat tries to come into us and where does it go? What about when cold tries to enter from the exterior? We will be introducing new concepts, yin deficiency, yang deficiency. These are more severe patterns of disharmonies. Where will they fall under? Then we have the not so common disharmonies based on fundamental substances. Okay, where does collapsed Qi fall under? Rebellious Qi, destruction of fluids. Have you heard of that? It will come out. And congealed blood or blood stasis, blood stagnation. Where will that fall under in the 4 patterns of diagnosis? Please make your own chart. Have that with you, not just for this lecture, but technically for the entirety of this course. You're going to need this. When you have that, then you may proceed. So now I'll be tackling the patterns of diagnosis. We'll start with a bit of a review. How did we come up with the patterns of diagnosis? How did we just say, okay, this is what's happening, this is what's happening? Where did the ancient Chinese doctors and scholars figure it out? It's all based on yin and yang. We understand that yin and yang is a system, is a philosophy where we look at the world, including the human body, as balanced. Okay? And as long as we exist within this normal range of balance, not too hot, not too cold, warm, cool, in the middle, then we are good. We are imbalanced, we are in balance, we are healthy. But we also know that when we go into imbalance, when we also can follow the philosophy of yin and yang, this paradigm to explain imbalance, where normal range of warm and cool, you can go into an extreme of yin and yang. Okay? So the idea that disease, imbalance, pathology can also be explained by yin and yang. We think of it more as extremes of yin and yang, okay? Beyond the normal range that we exist in. So there is this great concept, very broad concept. Oh, we're becoming more yang, we're becoming more yin. But it is so great and broad and encompassing that it becomes unwieldy and not practical. Okay, for even a holistic system of medicine where we look at everything all as a whole, interconnected, we still have to analyze, break down a bit. Okay, so the just diagnosing in terms of yin yang is not specific enough. So we do take a step down in being specific. And that is how we come up, we say, what do you mean by yang? Sumusobra o nag-overheat? Okay? So, what do you mean by yin? Nagkukulang or nalalamig? Okay? And that's why yang is broken down into definitions of are you hot or full, cold or empty. And technically, most of the time, probability, the probability is when you're yang hot, you are also yang full. Sumusobra. Sumusobra sa energy, that's why I'm heating up and overheating. Or the opposite, which is wala na akong chi, wala na akong energy, wala na akong calories, nag-hypoglycemia na ako, nilalamig na ako, at naghihina na ako. So when you're becoming yin cold, then you're becoming yin empty also, most of the time. But we do know based on the four patterns that sometimes you are yang and yin, partly yang, partly yin, partly yin, partly yang. And that's why we evolve this. Okay, there is the usual of full heat and empty cold. Now, yang, you're just very yang, you're just very yin. Or sometimes it is not as clear cut. You're not that yang. You're a bit yang, but a bit yin. You are full, but you're cold. Or you're empty and you're hot. Which leads us to the fourth patterns of diagnosis. We studied this in TCM10, and this will be the most useful paradigm of diagnosis that we will need for TCM20, these courses, this level of the course. So moving on. There is a third layer, okay? With that paradigm of hot and cold, there is a third layer, but unlike yin-yang, hot, cold, full, empty, okay? The third layer is not about staying in the middle or else you'll fall to the extreme. The third layer is a differentiation of, is it deeper, more internal, interior? Is it superficial, more exterior? Okay. We need a three-dimensional model, the point of this picture. Okay. That if it was just flat and then it's just yin and yang, okay, then we have four. But there must be another layer, but it doesn't have to be a cube. It can be just like this, that there is full heat, full cold, empty heat, empty cold, but there may be a layer where things are happening on the inside or things are happening on the outside. If we do the math, if we do the permutations, okay, one criteria of yin and yang, hot, cold, another criteria of yin and yang, full, empty. Then the third criteria, which is not the same, but it's just a differentiation of, is it in the interior, deep in the body, is it in the exterior, superficial, okay? Then we come up with the 8 patterns. These are the 8 patterns of diagnosis. So from TCM10, where we studied philosophy, very abstract, very cosmic, we're going now into more practical, more applied sciences. So the big question is, do all of these 8 patterns actually exist? Okay, we'll break it down. Look, first example, cold deficient interior. That means you're cold, there's something with the interior is deficient. Okay, does that happen? Oh yes. Okay, that is the definition of empty cold. The interior is deficient of something, and that's why it is cold. Let's move down. The same thing, it's the same story, except the interior is deficient of something, and then you end up hot. So that's the empty heat. Okay, what about this? There is a cold pattern because the exterior is deficient, but then if it's deficient, how what it's not my problem. It's a you problem, not a me problem. It's an exterior problem, not an interior problem. So why is it an interior problem? So this actually is, we can cross this out as not a valid pattern among the 8 patterns. The same thing can be said with there is an exterior deficiency, but that's happening on the outside. So what does it matter if it's hot or if it's cold? The focus is on the me, the interior. Or at least you can argue that the focus of medicine, studying anatomy, physiology, biology, is this. You might say, oh, maybe if outside is, kulang sa tubig, dehydrated, maybe it's a socio-political, environmental problem. So not a problem of medicine. Okay? If there is a drought, then there is an exterior deficiency and hot. But does it mean that it's affecting the interior? That's another discussion. Moving on, the interior, there is something that is in excess leading to cold. Does that really happen? Do we generate cold? If you are Elsa or some mutant X-Man, Iceman or Killer Frost, you generate cold, and you can be excessively generating cold. But most of us humans are not mutants or metahumans. This is in the realm of science fiction, where the interior generates so much cold. Most of us humans are warm-blooded. We do not generate cold. So this is also not a valid pattern among the 8 patterns. If you move down, us humans, we generate heat. We are generally warm, but from the inside, we generate heat. But if we are excessive, then we can overheat. And that is how we define fire blazing. Qi warms. Too much qi, or maybe from some other heat source, okay, internal or external, and that buildup of qi, that buildup of gas might ignite, and then we will have a fire, and it will blaze, and it will be a pathology. It will be a very valid pattern of disharmony. Going to the last 2, excess in the exterior of cold. That is valid. If there's so much cold on the outside, let's go to Korea. Pag Pasko, in December, in the winter months, there will be an excess of cold. And the problem will be that excess of cold can be oppressive and overwhelm our system. The same thing can be said with the excess of heat. Okay? That then there's an exterior heat in excess for our system. So we are not just doing abstract, anything is possible, but now we're looking at what is actually possible and what is probable. Out of the 8 patterns, our focus is now 5 patterns, except for the Disney fans. Okay? So let's plot those 5 patterns into our 4 patterns of diagnosis. We discussed full heat in the interior as fire blazing. We're generating too much heat, an excess of heat. Or maybe another form of full heat is full heat coming from the outside, full heat in the exterior. So this quadrant has two types of full heat: fire blazing, interior, or heat invading from the exterior. If you're not happy with a flat piece of paper, make a pop-up where the heat invading is on another level. On that level of heat invading, there should be that level of cold invading, where there is an excess of cold from the outside and it is invading our body. It is still considered an exterior condition. Okay? And then we have the empty cold and the empty heat, plotted in our four patterns, four quadrants. Okay? So the next question is, what are the forms? So empty heat, empty cold, not very specific. So the next question is, what are the forms of empty cold and empty heat that we know of? If you've done your homework, then you know the answer. Okay. Oh, first we go into chi stagnation. Let me rewind that. First, we'll add the fundamental substances. Okay. What happens to chi? Chi is stagnant. Chi is in excess. So where is it? Is it hot or cold? In theory, chi stagnation is neither hot nor cold. It is just full. However, chi stagnation can lead to full heat. That buildup of gas can ignite. Okay? There is also the factor that chi stagnation, the buildup of chi, the excess, the relative excess of chi, can mean too much of chi warming, which means that it will ignite, leading into a full heat condition. Fire blazing, okay, well, it should be, that arrow should be more fire blazing, okay, but it is in that full heat quadrant. When chi is stagnant and chi is not moving, then it will also be prone to cold. Cold from the inside, cold from the outside, but cold will aggravate chi stagnation. So in a way, chi stagnation, a build-up, an excess condition of chi, is the starting point that can lead to either full heat, a more severe full heat, or full cold. A basic fullness leading, aggravated by more severe conditions of full heat and full cold. What about chi deficiency? If you did your homework, where does chi deficiency fall under? Well, based on chi stagnation, a basic chi deficiency is just empty, just a bit empty. Okay, but a more severe chi deficiency moves towards empty cold, especially when chi is not warming. Okay, not warming, not drying, then a more severe or more chronic chi deficiency state presents more as empty cold. Okay. However, chi deficiency can also lead to the deficiency of another fundamental substance, which is shui, or blood. And when it is because of internal or external factors, when chi deficiency becomes more severe and what becomes deficient is blood, then instead of going to the empty heat, we go towards empty cold. We go towards empty heat, which is shui deficiency. Okay, so we have this plotted out on the four patterns. I hope that me going through all of these, as I am going through all of these, you know what I'm talking about. And if not, then please do stop and review. Ano nga ba yung shui deficiency? Ano nga ba yung chi deficiency? Ano nga ba ang symptoms niya? Ano ba yung manifestations niya? Ano nga ba yung causes niya? If you are okay with this, you can compare your notes, you compare your homework, and if this all makes sense, then you can proceed. The next part of this lecture, we will be introducing two more severe patterns. Okay. The first pattern we'll introduce, we have to look at this. This is an analogy of what happens to the human body. we are made of fluids, we also have heat, warmth, energy. Okay, we have heat in the body, a deep internal yang in our body. We also have a deep yin in the body. Okay, and when that yang is working, when the fire is in the body, not blazing, just burning regularly, then steam comes out. Okay, steam, energy, movement. We have chi, we have life. Okay, so the problem is what happens when there is chi deficiency. Okay, the teapot is cold and there is no steam coming out. There is no bubbles, there is no movement, there is no warmth. Okay, is that a disease condition? Maybe it's not that pathologic yet. Maybe it's just a mild imbalance, mild chi deficiency. So if you have a cold teapot, no more steam, no more bubbles, no more warmth, what do? You turn up the heat. Okay, you turn up the fire. In this case, it's an electric fire. Okay, when you turn up the heat, then you have more steam again. Okay, but what happens if you don't have steam? Yes, you don't have steam, no bubbles, no heat, no warmth, but you also have no more fire, no more heat. Your deficiency is severe, that you don't have fire. Well, no wonder the wok is cold. No wonder there is no steam. Okay, I was actually, to prepare for this lecture, I was trying to look for a nice, more traditional picture of rice being cooked. But all I'm seeing is modern rice cookers, and I couldn't find, so I found a teapot instead. Same idea, whether it's a wok frying rice or just a modern rice cooker or teapot. That there is something. First, how do we know it's working? There is steam coming out. There is smoke rising. The contents are warm, whether it's meat or rice or tea. Okay, if the contents are not warm enough and there is no steam rising, no smoke rising, then let's add more fire. But sometimes in severe cases there is no more fire, and no wonder there is no more steam. This is the concept of yang deficiency. It is a more severe empty cold condition. It's interior, there is deficiency, it is empty, and that's more severe emptiness. And what is empty and deficient is the yang factor. Not just qi, but a broader concept of yang, fire. Okay. In Chinese medicine, when we talk of yang deficiency, we're talking about a pattern where the cold is manifest. Symptoms of cold is very manifest, like this. Okay. Cold, sometimes dampness also. It's there. Okay. Can we just add some steam, add some smoke? No. What we need is fire. Okay. Oftentimes, when there is yang deficiency, it is not an isolated case. Okay. If I show the rest of the kitchen, of this cold, unused kitchen, malamang everything else is also cold and unused, is also cold and empty. Okay, so what it means in the body is if one organ is cold and empty, yang deficiency level, okay, then other organs might also be going towards or already in empty cold. Maybe qi deficiency, maybe yang deficiency also. Okay, there is one organ in particular that we have to look after if it is yang deficient. Okay, it is the one that if one organ is yang deficient, the most likely suspect is, oh, that one might also. Let's check on that. Okay, it's very, I won't spell it out, fundamental, that there is a fundamental basic fire that is missing. That's why all the other fires are also weakening. Okay, other organs. So if you notice, if the cold or dampness symptoms are very manifest, and then you think it is more severe than just qi deficiency, but yang deficiency, so it will be more chronic. Okay, it might also involve other organs that are also cold and empty, Qi deficiency, or even Yang deficiency. And of course, if you take a look at this, traditional stove, wood burning stove, there's a reason. There's also an aspect. There's also an important point where why is there no more fire? Because there's no more firewood. There is no more fuel. Okay. So if the yang aspect, the fire is deficient, there is often also an aspect of the yin, the fuel is deficient. This is the idea of yang deficiency. It is more severe, it is broader, involving other tang fu, going in the same direction, which is towards empty cold if they're not already there. And yang, it is not just qi that is deficient, it is not just yang that is deficient, but maybe also the fuel, the yin, is deficient. So you might also have signs of empty heats. Yang deficiency will fall under empty cold, and we put it more extreme, away from center, more off balance, more off centered than qi deficiency. Okay, I'm keeping the arrows for this presentation because there's also that usefulness of where do we go first? We don't just jump into severe conditions like yang deficiency. Most probably that's chronic and you pass through qi deficiency first. Or if you're qi deficiency, then there is prognosis. There's looking forward, warning, prevention that, oh, if you keep this up, you're going towards yang deficiency. Moving on, let's talk about Korean barbecue. Okay, I have to tell this story. Um, my birthday's in May, and so is Kathy, secretary, Doc Jeannie, she's also May, and some other people also May celebrant. So every time we have celebration, we celebrate together. May, and if we're coming from St. Luke's, we make it a day na, okay, we're gonna celebrate together, one big dinner. One memorable dinner we had was at this Korean place, Korean barbecue, some samgyeopsal, wagyu, or okay. Um, there was a doctor, let's not mention names, but I said, okay, we were a big group, so there was one grill and then another grill, okay, and then the doctor was bida bida. He wanted to grill, okay, because in the States he used to grill a lot. And then he put the meats and it's like, wala bang oil to? Wala bang oil? Di ba? And then it came to a point that the meats on his grill were sticking and nagiging chicharon on the grill. Okay? It's like, and he was stressing because walang oil. It's like, paano to, paano to? Okay, like, that's not how we do it. Diba? We cut things up. Everything has to be sliced up. Then you get, in fact, diba, Korean barbecue, in fact, look at that white bowl, diba? We drain the oil from it. We're trying to remove oil. But of course, you need oil to cook. So what you do first is you don't put all the meats in, but you put first, not oil, but not the oil coming from the meats itself, diba? You put in a piece of fat and then you use the oil from that piece of fat, that fat meat, to oil the grill, and then you put the lean meats and everything else, diba? Because meat has fluids, fats and oils, okay, juices, and even blood in it. And this is the introduction we need to understand the concept of yin deficiency. Our matter, physical matter, our flesh, our flesh is a product of our blood. Okay? Our flesh is a product of our blood, and okay, it contains blood and fluids. Our oils and juices is in our meat, our laman. Okay? What happens when we go towards empty heat is we are drying up. It's so hot and we are depleted of the yin aspect. In shear deficiency, we run out of blood. Okay? And the functions of blood, which are, well, the yin functions of blood. I won't spell it out. Okay? When the empty heat, when the depletion and the heat becomes more severe, then we go into yin deficiency. That not just the blood and fluids and juices and oils dry up, but even the meat dries up. Okay? Burnout, drying up. I found this interesting. Okay? Now, I was trying to look for Filbert's spectrum because as a myotherapist, Twaina, massage specialist, texture, the feel of our meat, of our muscles, ligaments, and joints and fascia is what Filbert is expert at. And our meat is just like this meat. And he has that famous spectrum of the different kinds of meat. Are you fluffy, like a marshmallow? Are you damp and oily? Okay. Or in this case, are you drying up? Okay, let's look at this. Let's just look at this one, the first one. Very rare, rare, medium rare. If you keep on applying more heat, as the heat increases, the depletion of the juices of the blood, of the fluids, increases. More depletion until medium well, kaya pa bang kainin yan? Pwede, oh naman. And then hockey puck, which is it's dried up and stiff. Okay, and then I added this for fun. How do you like your steak? 1, 2, 3. Unfriend block. Okay, the Texans, the steak connoisseurs who don't like what the you are nasisira eh. So they're just gonna unfriend you and block you if you damage the meat, injure the meats. Okay. When we talk about meat that has been, there's just so much heat or so much of the juices, the blood and fluids have been lost. Filbert talks about prosciutto all the time. Okay, we talk about tapa. Is that tapa or is that beef jerky? Same thing na tumigas na at nag-shrink na. Dried up, hardened, shrunken. Okay, then I was trying to look. Here's another extreme. I love this. Mahu, pork floss. Okay. When I get this, I have to make sure that lahat nakukuha, and then when I bring it to the cashier, they just dump it, and then even the crumbs. I want to eat the crumbs. Okay. I mean, it's okay as pork floss, as a food we eat. I'd like to eat all of it. Okay. It's easy to digest because it's already broken down and dried up. We just have to hydrate it a bit. Okay, but we don't want our meat, our laman, to be this dry, this shrunken, shriveled, and dry to the point that it breaks apart. Okay, but this is yin deficiency for you. When yin deficiency happens, we are dried up. Okay, there is no more nourishing and moistening juices, okay, that will fuel us, that make our matter. Okay, this is Jared Leto before Joker, his recent roles before then, and you can see, well, he's an actor, so he did this to himself. This is not a disease condition. He did it to himself. For one role, this one where he's some corrupt, super obese, okay, fat na, so much juices, too much juices. And then for regular roles, I'm okay with the middle two. Okay. And then for that one, he won an Oscar for that role. He's a drug addict, okay, transvestite prostitute, something. Yung laman, natuyo, naubos. Okay. This is atrophy. This is kakeksha. This is wasting. This is yin deficiency. Okay. Well, at least from the colored picture to this one, this is yin deficiency. The middle two are kind of okay. This one is a different disharmony. Okay. This is what happens to yin deficiency. There is Often, compared to something less severe like Schur deficiency, the heat will be very prominent and the dryness. We're not just talking energy, oh, I'm warm, I'm overwarm, I'm heat, I'm overheating, but even the matter is affected. So there will be dryness, drying up of our laman, of our meat. Okay? So there will be heat, there will be drying up. It is more severe than Schur deficiency. It is not just the blood and juices missing, the meat is also depleted, consumed. It is also probably not limited to one organ system, but you should look around at the other organ systems. So look, his whole body is dried up, okay? And it's not just the muscles, it's probably not just the skin. It might even be, things like the hair, the eyes, and of course, the internal organs. So if one Zhangfu is severely empty heat to the point of yin deficiency, you have to look at the other Zhangfu because they are going towards empty heat. They might already be there. They might be at least Xue deficiency. They might also be in yin deficiency. There is one organ system that you have to, as soon as you suspect something like this, look at this organ system because it also is the one that provides the yin, the foundation of all other organ systems. I'm not going to say which. And of course, if you have no more blood, no more juice, no more fuel, then most probably you will also be weak and tired and lethargic. So you will have less yang. So yin deficiency will also have symptoms of empty cold. The same story as with yang deficiency, except baliktad lang ang yin and yang. We put yin deficiency in empty heats and more severe, okay, than blood deficiency. Maybe the same level as yang deficiency. We have to think of it that yes, yin deficiency will have some symptoms of empty cold yang deficiency, and yang deficiency will have some symptoms of empty heat yin deficiency, and yin deficiency will have some symptoms of empty cold yang deficiency. Okay? Because you cannot say, o sige ha, kung ubos na ubos yan, yung yin lang ang mababawasan. Hindi. Mababawasan din yung kabila. So, moving on, what are the other patterns? There are other patterns that we will include. This is just the introduction. You must have that organized in your mind already, or at least in your notes. Moving forward, in the future modules, there's this question, all of these patterns of disharmony that we saw, do they all happen to all the Zhangfu? Spoiler, the answer is no. Okay? So we're looking at all the general patterns, but they don't all happen to all the Zhangfu. In fact, depending on the Zhangfu, the nature, the quality, the character, the personality of the Zhangfu. If you have a Zhangfu that's very fiery and hot, what are the chances that it will become damp? Diba? If you have a Zhangfu naman that is very cold and damp, what are the chances that it will overheat? Okay? So that is what the rest of the modules are about. We have this general template of what can happen in all these all the four quadrants, all these four patterns, and then some. But what actually happens, what probably happens to a Zhangfu, we will discuss each one. There's also the matter of the exterior patterns. Where does wind fit in? Is wind exterior always, or does wind come from inside? Is wind hot or cold? Okay. What about the other things like dryness? Okay. Phlegm, where do they fit in? Are they exterior? Are they interior? Are they deficient? Are they empty? Is there such a thing as empty wind or empty dampness? Okay. What's the difference between dampness and phlegm? We will discuss this in future topics. connecting to the other point, is everyone affected by phlegm? Okay. Does everyone have a wind problem? Spoiler, not everyone. Okay. So if there is a problem with wind, you have to think which Zhangfu is most likely affected. If there is phlegm, which Zhangfu is most likely affected? Dampness, so on and so forth. So I am ending this lecture here. I hope I hope you did your homework. I hope it clarified a few things. I hope it laid down a broad map, template of future things. I'm ending this lecture here.